Hi, everyone, and welcome once again to one of our Hobby Memorial Library events, partnering with the Mayborn Science Theater. I'm Cindy Oser, and we have our CTC astronomer, Warren Hart, who is here with us today to talk about February. Hey, Warren.
Hey, February, there we go. It used to be the shortest month, and it still is, but it's added a day.
Right, this year. Yep, yep.
So ready to go.
Okay.
Okay, so there were 7 of constellations for January. That's 8%, like I said. And Cindy is now showing us the astronomy page on the Central Texas College Library overall. So talk them through that, Cindy. Show
Okay.
them how to get there.
Okay, so it's on our library page. Then you hit research study guides. And there's like a million subjects in here, guys, and astronomy and our calendars. Well, before you get to our calendars, all the Mayborn Science Theater events and shows and everything, you can get it from this page. And then the night sky calendars are what we are going to be looking at. And also our maps by month are in here as well. So now I'm here at your calendar, Warren.
Okay, so we're ready to start there on that first line over there in the white area, February the 1st. And notice I've put 2 different pieces of information there. First of all, it's down to the days now. And on February the 1st, it's 67 days until the total solar eclipse. And we are in our 10th week of also of until the total solar eclipse. But let's go on through, if you would, and we'll look on to Friday. And on Friday the 2nd, I want to take you through the phases of the moon, and we can point that out. And Cindy has a diagram for us, a page showing the different phases of the moon. And this happens to be the moon on February the 2nd is what is called its last quarter, or on this page, it's also called the third quarter. And if you look across there to your right to number 7, and underneath it says that it is the third quarter. Notice also above the moon, it mentions, and I just split it up into every 6 hours, that this is 6 a.m. And what you would see in the sky as you look up in the morning, this is how you would see the moon. The left side of it, and it's going to be rising, or pardon me, setting in the west, and the left side is going to be illuminated. That's the white, and the dark side is, of course, the opposite there. That's not illuminated. That's where we're seeing the, if you would, it's a shadow side of the moon. So that's our third quarter, or our last quarter. And then on the Saturday the 3rd, moving on, we have the first of our 4 constellations. There's only 4 for February, and this first one is called Carina, and Carina is part of the mythical ship of Argo Navis, and that was a constellation many years ago. That was an extremely large constellation, and this was before the 1930-31 thereabouts, when the professional astronomers worldwide got together and they said it's time for us to determine and map out, survey each of the constellations and give each one a specific area in the sky that is theirs. Up until that time, then, it was all subjective. And you're going to notice that when we get to another constellation here and see how different it was. But anyway, here is Carina, and it's down, way down. Notice the darks circle off there to the far right with the number 1, and that should be Canopus. And notice also how close it is to our southern horizon. It is the brightest star that is along or just above our southern horizon. And I've connected the different stars as it goes around, trying to make it look like a part of a ship and all. And that's what we get with. And you notice down toward the bottom, it's pointing down toward the South Pole in the sky. Now, laying over on there between stars 3, 6, and there's a 4, and then 2 above it. This, as you're looking at it, it looks like an X, an odd-shaped X, but actually it's also called the false cross, F-A-L-S-E, because the true cross is just off here, and it'd be over to the far left in the gray area, just a little bit more. You'll see there to the left of the word Musca, in there is a dark star mentioned there for us, and that's getting us close to the actual true Southern Cross. And so that's the one you would navigate from. The false cross, the one up there that's connected with red lines, that would, if you decided to navigate off of it, we would not ever have any idea where you've gone. So it's dangerous in that way, and it is incorrect, of course. But anyway, that is Carina. That's our first one. So it's now called. It is the keel, Keel, of the mythical ship Argo Navis. There you are. So that's what we have on that. Now you can scroll down, Cindy, to our last page, and you see the numbers there. And if we look for number, should be 1, and it's the one listed, and there is Canopus. Uh, and it is as you go along, you see it's the northernmost, and it's also the brightest. And the second line says that Canopus is the second brightest star in the night sky. And if anyone happens to know what is the name of the brightest star in the night sky, because there is a brighter star that's in the daytime. And you can tell us, call in and tell us what's the name of the brightest star in the daytime, and then also what is the brightest star in the nighttime. Anyway, let's go on. And there is down, as you see down below the list of the stars, there is asterisms. And an asterism, all that means is somebody long time ago said, I like those stars and they look like a cross to me. And so they connected them in their mind and on paper and whatever. And so that's what they called it. And it came to be, it's known now as the false cross. All an asterism is It's the name of an object that was drawn out in the night sky by somebody centuries ago, more than likely, and it is not the name of any of the 88 constellations. So that's all of what it means by an asterism. Okay, let's go on back to the calendar, and we're going to go to our second row, going down to her, and we get to the 5th of February, and notice 9 weeks there. So we all would be, at that time, we would be in single digits of weeks until the April total solar eclipse. Moving on the 8th is our second of the 4 February constellations. It's, I have written there something ecliptical. It's called Cancer the Crab. So Cindy, let's take a look at the picture, the drawing of that, and let's see if we can figure out why I wrote down that it's an ecliptical constellation. Any idea there?
On the eclipse. No, I don't know. I should know. It's
It's
where
right.
the
You were
eclipse
getting it
goes.
there. Where is it? It's there. Okay, on Cancer the Crab. And what we have, it's ecliptical. It's not equatorial. And notice the ecliptic line. That's the one that's in blue there. And the ecliptical line is the actual path of the sun. And then that is also the ecliptical region as it goes along, would be for the moon and the planets, because at times all of them will, at different times, some will be above the line or some below the line. And so it is not a single line, all of them traveling right along the same line as the uh, sun does. But so we call it also not the ecliptic line, but the ecliptic belt. Some will call it that way. Here we have it. All right, now this is supposed to be the drawing for Cancer the Crab. Look at there, the very top star numbered 7, and then you go down to there to the left, and there's number 8, that other star. So there's a 7 and an 8. Whoa. Let's take a look at the 3rd page, Cindy. Now scroll her on down all the way, and let's see if there's anything that's kind of odd about what we have when we have 7 and 8. And we see there's the crab, the Cancer the crab, Iota. It's our northernmost, and number 8, Acubens, is the easternmost. Well, it's not a whole lot of different there, but it's putting out for us the different pieces of information about those stars. Now, if you notice also, in between stars 4 and 5, there's something called M44. And that M stands for the French astronomer back in the 1700s, Messier, and he was interested in finding comets. Now, this is in the 1700s, and the telescope that was made by Galileo was in the mid 1600s. So Messier is barely 100 years or even less than that after Galileo. So the technology for Messier, the telescope he used, was the ultimate at that time because he was very wealthy, but it still wasn't real good because it's nothing like what we have now. So it's M44, and 44 means it's the 44th thing that he saw and he recorded in his logbook. There's over 100 items, and so it's 1, 2, 3, 4 through 44 all the way to 100. I think it's 110, and that's all it means. 44 does not mean it's the 44th brightest, the 44th biggest, the 44th lowest, the 44th da da da. It's just number 44 in the list that he noted and he wrote down in his logbook. That is it. But in the middle there, this M44 has a little cluster of stars. And notice as you would read over there to the right, it's called the beehive cluster. It's like a bunch of little bees buzzing around there. But it's got a Latin name also. And notice the Latin name for the cluster is Praesepe. Praesepe. And in Latin, that's it. But in English, it means manger. And so this has been called, this would be the manger for Jesus Christ when he was in the crib that he was born in. So that's where we get it from here. Now let's scroll back up to page 1, Cindy, and we will see it there. If you'll get the center, keep it going. And that's there where it's circled and colored in the yellow, and that's what you would have at that time. So that's Cancer the crab. Let's go on, if you will, and let's see what do we have next after Cancer the crab. And it indicates on the Friday the 9th, we have our moon as it orbits Earth. It has moved around and it's now at what we call its new place. So let's go back to the moon phase diagram. And the new is number 1, and it's easier to see what number 1 is if you look over there to the left. And number 1, we are looking at the total shadow side, the dark side of the moon. Now, if you did this on Friday, February the 9th, you would not see anything because you are looking in daylight and in the sequence from Earth looking to next away from it is the moon, and after the moon is the sun. Well, that's where the moon is going to be at new moon when we have our total solar eclipse, because we will be looking at the shadow, the dark side of the moon. Scroll on this page up to the top a little bit more, Cindy, and we can help them. Now we're looking down from above the North Pole of Earth. And if you look up at the top of that outer circle, there's number 7, and there you get another viewpoint of how we have the moon. Notice it was one half of it was illuminated and the other half is the dark side. And as it continues in this counterclockwise direction, it moves on past point 8 and it comes to number 1, the new moon. And now we are looking, as you see, we are looking at the dark side of the moon. And that's how it would go around for us each time. All right. Let's go on and go back to the calendar. And we're going to have another thing on Saturday the 10th is our perigee. And it's also going to be not visible. It's below, I believe, the horizon. And it's the fourth closest of the perigees. There's 13 of them for the 24th. And that's what we have here. And it's giving you its approximate mileage from Earth to the moon as far as what we have. And the perigee, the way I remember which one it is, there's the perigee and an apogee. So I think of, oh, the perigee. What do we say, Cindy?
Well, okay, and when it's perigee, it's perilously close. But this is my question. On the 9th, it's we're not going to be able to see the moon, and on the 10th, it gets perilously close. So if it hit us, we wouldn't see it coming, right?
Correct. You're right. And it's going to be more than likely, like I said, moving down, and it's going to be uh, well, another thing is notice the time. 12:52 is just after noon, and so we're not going to be seeing the moon because we're still looking just right next to the sun.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
All right, let's scroll down to the next week for us, starting on Sunday the 11th. And we have this strange diagram called the equation of time. And it says it's a minus 14.23 minutes. In other words, it's about 14 minutes, and we would say in the neighborhood of about 15 seconds if you have there. And all that is telling us is if you had, we'll see what I'm trying to think of, a diagram or a way of measuring in the sky where the shadow of the sun, and you had a stick sticking up vertical in the ground and the shadow, and you wait until the shadow was directly in line of what you would know to be looking to the south. And you would have that, and that would be because we are always north of the moon, of the sun as it travels, because it doesn't go up beyond us. Uh, will only gets up certain how high it gets in June. So uh, this is how, long time ago, the people would set their clocks. Soon as the shadow of the sun from that stick would come be straight south or pointing toward the shadow toward the north for us, then that would be called high noon. And so everybody would then, on their clocks, whatever they had, they would set it. Well, every day you had to set it different because Earth, as it travels around the sun, we travel at different speeds. Because as we go around the sun, the gravity of the sun determines how far we move in our total orbit around the sun, that as we get closer to it, when we as we go, then the gravity pulls us faster and we go a greater distance around in our orbit, as opposed to when we are in our winter time and we're farther away from it, then we slow down. And so the equation of time tells us, is the sun, is it trailing the shadow? is time as far as what we're using, or is it ahead of? And that's where you get your plus or your minus to tell you if you're trying to set your clock in that way. Now let's go to our third constellation. And we notice also on the 12th, we're down to 8 weeks. And here is our, of the 4 constellations, this is Pyxis. And for Pyxis now, you'll notice it there as we call it the magnetic compass. And we'll see on our picture, and go ahead, Cindy. There we go. Well, all I was able to do was just to connect the different brighter stars for Pyxis. And so I guess you could call this, if you were holding it, that up at the upper left side, northwest left side there, 7, 9, and 10 would be if you had your compass laying flat in your hand, then you could uh, call all of that area there the compass itself. But anyway, here we have it, and it is the magnetic compass. Now, how did we get that name? We got that from an astronomer from Europe who was sent down voluntarily to southern Africa, and his job was to survey and determine what the names would be of different constellations in the southern hemisphere, because predominantly this, what had been mapped out, is what Europe could see from the northern hemisphere, and that was well documented, well divided up already, but the southern was relatively unknown to them. So he had the privilege of naming things based on what he wanted to call them. And he was so creative that we will see eventually there are 3 stars that he connected together, and he called that the triangle. So creative. You could take any 3 stars anywhere in the sky, and that is a triangle. So anyway, that just always strikes me as completely, I don't know what to say, ludicrous or something. That he couldn't come up with anything else other than, oh yeah, that's a triangle. Okay, all right, very good. So that's what we have here as far as it's uh, mentioning here, but this is Pyxis, the magnetic compass. So let's go on and get out of that. And we're going to go to Friday the 16th, and we're going to see our moon has moved on past the new moon point, and we're going to come to what is we call our first quarter. And let's go back to the page there, Cindy, if you would. And for our first quarter, that's number 3. Now, look at the difference between, if you will, number 3 and number 7. You should see a difference. Now, both of them have, part of it is illuminated and part of it is in the dark. But notice the 2 of them are exactly the opposite. Let's scroll up to the top and let's see if we can figure that out here on the screen. Now, we have number 7 up at the top. We saw that. That's how we started out for February. And then the moon, as it continued its orbit around Earth, the last time we talked about it, it was in between Earth and the sun. The moon was there, and it's the new moon. It has continued moving, orbiting around us, and now it's at the same relative position, and if you will, also the distance from Earth and the moon to the sun. Notice that both the third quarter number 7 and the first quarter number 3 are parallel with Earth in their distance from the sun. And the only thing that has changed is which side of the moon is illuminated. It's always the side pointing toward the sun. So you would see barely a little bit of difference. Now, we don't have it here, but the moon does, as it goes orbits around the Earth, and there the virtually the same side stays visible to us all the time throughout each year. It does what we would say it's a lunation. That's a different term for the movement of the moon, but we would say it kind of wiggles back and forth, twists back and forth, and it's very, very slight, barely a degree or two. So that's why we see the same face of the moon all the time, because as it orbits around the sun, then the Earth's size and gravity has a control over the moon to keep it pointing toward Earth, that same position there. So it goes all the way around there, and every time we are seeing virtually the same side of the moon. So that's what we have here at this point here that we're talking about. That's with now it's at our first quarter. Okay, let's go back, if you will, to the page, and there we have that the first quarter. And look down at 10 o'clock in the evening. We're going to have the ecliptical / equatorial constellation Aquarius the water bearer. So let's take a look, if you would, there at Aquarius. And
Okay, you didn't tell me to put Aquarius up, so I gotta
oh,
go
I'm
find it.
sorry.
I gotta go find it. Hang on.
Okay, well that was that's
Alright.
actually that's the sun that has entered it. So that's
We're
my
good.
error.
We're good. I got it.
You got
That's
it.
why we
Okay,
put,
there's
that's why one
Aquarius.
of them is the constellations in alphabetical order.
Yes. Okay. Notice also while it's on here, notice it's listed as both ecliptical. Notice the white area for the part of the sky designated to Aquarius. There it is. And it's also ecliptical. Notice the brown line going through the top part of Aquarius. So it is both. It is both ecliptical and equatorial. And I apologize for my error on that.
No, it's okay.
Okay. So that is then we have for that week. Let's look back on the calendar and let's go down to our next one, which is the 18th, good, through the 24th. And we come over to Monday the 19th, and it's now 7 weeks. 7 weeks to go. So let's go on over. And here on Friday the 23rd is actually a constellation that is in February. And so, Cindy, you have that one up, and this is Vela, And notice it's also part of that big old ship of Argo Navis, the mythical ship. And if we look at it, there's the white area designated to Vela. And look just at the bottom right corner of it. There's our false cross. And to the east and around on the south is Carina. And there, as we talked about it, and that was the keel. So here, this is, what is it on Vela? It's the sails, if you will, of the mythical ship of Argo Navis. So that's what we have here. Now, at this one drawn there, you notice there's the red that I was talking to you, the red lines. That's the false cross. Look over to the far left, the bottom left corner, and there is Crux, the true Southern Cross of the constellation and also in the sky, and those two almost vertical lines there, those stars, uh, point pretty close, not exact to it, but very close to help in your navigation, pointing toward where the South Pole would be. And so that's what you would navigate off of, not the other one, because you can definitely tell that the false cross does not get anywhere close to the South Pole on that. So that's our Vela, and then our moon keeps going around, and we're going to go back to the moon. And as you pull that up, you can leave it right there. Right, we were at number, as you see, the point number 3, which was the first quarter, going in the counterclockwise direction. We come up to number 5, and that is the full moon, which is the direct opposite of number 1, the new moon. And again, it looks the same, except the shadow and the illuminated side of the moon has, for us as looking down on it, it is shifted. But like I told you, it with the gravity of Earth is holding that one face of the moon toward us at virtually all the time. There is a slight shift, wiggle back and forth, not very much. So that is our full location, and we can go on and let's go down to our last week of February, and we get down starting on the 25th, and here is the opposite of our perigee, and this is listed as its apogee. Now, this is a form of Greek, if you will. The moon location with the letter A in front of it means it is not or negative or whichever or opposite. And so it is apogee there as opposed to what we mentioned earlier, perigee.
Well, it's
So
because the moon is apathetic about running into us at that point.
there you go. That's very good.
Okay, so now we've got one for that one too.
There you go. That's excellent. That's outstanding, if you will. So that's our location, and notice it is the second farthest away from us there. Uh, for the astronomers who take pictures of the moon when it's at perigee, and then take again a picture of the moon when it is at apogee, and compare the two pictures, you can see a slight difference of how big the moon looks in the night sky, and of the apogee or perigee. Call in and tell us which one you would think the moon would look the largest to us when we went out to see it in the night sky. Well, we are going through. We've already got our 4 constellations there. That was Vela was our last one. And we come on over on the 29th. This is a leap year. And I just mentioned cross-check that the next leap year is 4 years later, and there's times when it is a little earlier or maybe a little later.
Um,
So go ahead.
I have a question about leap year.
Uh-huh.
Well, is it created because the actual clock with the actual sun, like you said, with the stick and the shadow, um, it keeps creeping along and we keep getting worse and worse and worse connected to the actual time. And so that's why we have to
Yes.
throw that day is. Is that what that's about?
Yeah, you're right. Because it's the error from when we would start up and we synchronize with it ideally, that as time goes on, days and weeks and months and years, that it's finally got up enough of an odd time that we have to include then another full day to get us back to the start over point again to there. So that's what that is. So good point. Now, since there's only 4 constellations for February and 7 for January, that's a total of 11, which is approximately 12.5% of all the constellations we have gone through in the first 2 months. So that's pretty well it for February. And you see also on March the 1st, it's down now that we would be in there only 38 days until the total solar eclipse. So it is, as they would say, drawing nigh.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Okay, well, as always, I learned so much each time you talk. So thank you, Warren. Before I get off the screen here, I want to remind everybody about oh, and by the way, put your questions, you have questions in the comments, okay? And we'll get those answered for you.
Sure.
But our next thing happening is on the 29th, we're starting our Surviving Adulthood series. And there's a, over here on our page, I'm on the events page, but remember, these are just quick and basic information on all types of subjects that you guys, if you're not aware of it, it will go ahead and enlighten you. Our first one is January 29th. We're going to be doing first aid, but it's mainly going to be CPR training, just a quick how to do CPR. Then on January 31st, internet safety. That's a really important one because we're always on our phones. And February 5th is time management, and February 7th is cooking vegan. Again, we have a lot of different subjects, but I wanted to also show you that on January the 30th for Black History Month, we have several local poets who are going to be reciting their poetry, and they're very powerful. So I hope you guys can join us for that as well.
Hmm.
All
Okay,
right.
Cindy, if you want to bring back, we have a minute or two, bring back that activity calendar that you had there.
This one?
Uh, the,
Okay.
the one that you were just showing, okay?
This one?
And Yeah, keep
Right
going.
there.
No, keep going. I was looking for you had the Galt location.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Yes, we
there it
have
is.
the
Yeah.
Galt Archaeology Center. So we had them several years ago, and so they're coming back to give us some updates on their finds. So we're going to be really excited to have them back again.
Yes.
So, and then of course we have another military story with Renita Minihart. And look, guys, Warren is going to be talking with us about the eclipse safety. So, how not to lose your eyeballs. And
Hmm.
we're still in discussion. So far, we have on our flyer February and March, and we're still in discussion, right? Warren, you
Yes.
didn't know what else to go after that. So,
Okay. Go back down
mhm,
to Galt. I want to mention one another
okay,
thing for you.
okay.
The Galt Archaeology Center, uh,
Uh-huh.
downtown in Belton at the museum there
Uh-huh.
is the Galt Room. Now, Galt, G-A-U-L-T, is the name of the family that owns the property where the archaeology has been going on. And what the museum would do, and I don't know if they've started it back up, but once a month on a Saturday, you could sign up and pay, that time it was, I think, $10 per vehicle. So if you could cram 30 people inside your car, it would be very you'd get a good price if you would that, only $10. But anyway, what I want to point out is that my wife and I decided that we would go see it, and we chose to go in December because we wanted to go when it was cool as opposed to in June and July. And was very fortunate the December that we went, it was excellent weather and went there. You go and then you park at the entrance to the site. The one of the archaeologists, professional archaeologists, would come out, meet everybody, and then lead us down the road to the actual archaeology site. And I noticed when we got there that there was one of these tall wooden stake that was a good 7 feet tall that was stuck in the ground. That's 7 foot of it still above ground. And there were all sorts of little short signs that you see, like so and so, Kilroy was here and stuff like this. And there was different countries, and there was kind of like they had tried to make like an arrow, and it would point to, we'll say, France and Australia and South Africa and all Russia, all of these. And so I asked the archaeologist that was taking us through there, and I said, well, what's with all of these? He said, professional astronomers come to here from all over the world because Galt is known worldwide
Ooh,
as a very significant archaeological site that they had at the time we were there. They had just uh, dug up, or whatever they did, or uh, cleared out what they believe was the uh, floor area of the oldest um, human uh, structure in North America.
yep, that's what they've been working on. That's
And so
awesome.
it's well known, and uh, we both said, yeah, we'll go and we'll pay, and it's going to be, and it was in the morning. We'll be there maybe 30 minutes to an hour at the most.
Yeah,
Well, 4 hours later,
right,
we
right,
left.
right. Yeah, no, we have a lot of, we have their last event on our our YouTube page, and so people can watch it. It's got a lot of views, and
Mm.
so we're hoping that they just add on to that as well.
Yeah.
So that's
And
cool.
and the Galt room that's there at the Belton Museum is open whenever the museum is open, and that's free. And so you can go in and get a perspective of what you're going to be looking at if you desire to go out there. And as I understand, the only way you can get onto the property is you have to go through like that weekend via the museum. Now, they may have more than one now, but you
Yeah,
just can't go out there and say, I want to go in here.
right. I think the Galt Center website as well has,
Yes.
yeah, because they do it through the University of Austin. You talking about the Bell County Museum? That
Yes.
one? Oh, okay. Yeah, no. If you just Google Galt archaeology, and good luck spelling archaeological
That's right.
site. It's an A's in there.
Yeah.
Um,
And there's
and
no K in archaeology.
no, no, no. But that'll be really an interesting thing. And I actually wanted to show everybody one more thing. Our specifically our students, we we are taking entries into byways,
Hmm.
and so you guys go to our website and hit byways, and it's gonna take a little while, but see all the categories and all the years we've been publishing this journal. It is CTC creative work, CTC students creative work, and you can enter up to two um entries into each category, and if you are chosen as a finalist, you are published. So, all right, all good stuff. All good stuff. All righty.
All
So,
right.
Warren, you excited about the eclipse coming?
Yes, indeed, because and I'm looking at it right here in my notes. This will be the first total solar eclipse for right here since 20th of July in 1506, which is
It's a long
uh,
time ago.
517 plus years that we've had one here.
So we
And
need to take advantage of it.
that's right. And I've been telling everybody that I can to pray for clear skies because you can't do a do-over. Say it was overcast that day. Can you back it up? Tough.
No, no. So we will. We will. It'll
Good.
be beautiful.
It'll be a
All
lot of
right.
fun.
Yeah, it will be.
And we're
So
going to have activities Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Monday. Yes, yes. It's going to be wild. So, all right, sir. Well, thank you again.
You're
And
welcome.
we will see you next month.
Very good. Okay.
All righty. Have a great day.
You
Everybody have a
too.
good time. All right.
Will do.
Bye. Bye. Don't
Bye
go
bye.
anywhere. Don't go anywhere.